Yo, so the opinions and views expressed in this podcast are that of our own and the future Bachelor podcast only, and not affiliated with any outside party or entity or anything like that. This fun podcast, though, may include some adult language.
Future Bachelor podcast.
Why don't we get into what we like to do around here, you know? Because it's that time to talk about Bachelorette on our show! Yes, but before we get talking about the Bachelorette YouTube, I'm gonna need you to go ahead and subscribe, smash that thumbs up button, and hit that notification bell so you can get notified every time we drop new Bachelorette content just like this. And if you just did, oh man, huge shout out to you. Woo-wee! Air horns for you. You know, we have to shout out our comment crew, and those are the people that are leaving comments on our YouTube videos. Of course, we shout out the OGs, the Nancy Drew crew, in full effect this week. We got all of them in the building, and I love it when that happens. Yeah. They held us down, when we were just itty bitties, and they're, going to hopefully be here when we're big old cities. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that, but you know what I meant, Anyways, the Nancy Drew crew, Catherine Ann, Chelsea Allen, Kathleen Kemp, Marion SP, returning in the comments. We got Beth Wanger, we got Sunny Days 00, Wendy Fraley, Mona Walters, RS13256, and new to the comments, we got Adon Wani, we got Carlene, and Shawnice. Shout out to y'all for getting in the comments. It's really fun to see y'all interacting and seeing our community grow, and you can get a shout out too on the next episode. All you got to do is leave a comment below, let us know you subscribe, let us know your thoughts on this week's episode, or just anything really. It's just really nice to see when I get on there and try to see what's going on with the video. We got a bunch more people on there, so I'm very excited for new people. Definitely always excited to see returning people, so we love y'all. Well, why don't we get into our comment of the week? This week's comment of the week comes to us from our friend, Marion SP. What's up, Marion? She says, so close to 200. Yes.
Oh, yeah, we are.
Yes, when she commented that, we were so close to 200, but we're not even close anymore because we are at 200. So we're going to go and give ourselves a round of applause. You know what I'm saying? Oh, my gosh. And I'm playing the video right now in the background accidentally while the claps were happening. But just to see what the actual number is, we're at 206, people. We have made it to 200.
And over 205.
Over 205. Well on our way to 250, and our huge goal of getting to 1,000 subscribers. So shout out to all you guys that watch this video, are brand new, and hit subscribe right away and give us a thumbs up and join the community. Shout out to everybody that's been holding it down. Of course, the OGs, the Nancy Drew crew, and we just really appreciate y'all, man. We've been on YouTube for a while. We've been doing podcasting for a long time, for years, and we just kind of in the last year or so started really focusing on our YouTube channel and our strategy for it, and it's been working. So we've been gaining followers pretty consistently over the last year with what we've switched up on here. So shout out to y'all, and on continuing on to bigger and better things. And with the mentioning the podcast, we definitely want to drop if you like this content, we do more content outside of just The Bachelor on our weekly podcast. This is just one segment of it. So if you're looking for more from us, you can get more right away by finding us anywhere you listen to podcasts. The usual suspects: Spotify, Apple podcast. Just look for Future Bachelor and we'll be there. So well, V, we got a lot to get to this week when it comes to Bachelor Nation, but why don't we start with this week's episode of charity season of The Bachelorette, week 7. They're calling it overnights. This is something that I kind of wanted to talk about because I didn't hear to mention a fantasy suites.
Fantasy, I feel like the only person that said fantasy suite was Joey, I think. I think Joey was the only one that actually called it fantasy suite when he was in his little bit when they were when he was waiting for Charity to walk, I guess, drive up for his date. But yeah, in general, it seems like they're definitely trying to pivot away from making it about sex as much, where I think this is probably a hard pivot since Zach's season, where, you know, how that whole setup went, and also probably from Clayton's season too, just based on the fact that, like, how that went when it was, like, so focused on the sexual aspect of potentially what could happen. And we've known it after watching this show a decent amount and reading things and hearing from different former contestants, like either what they say online or whatever, that, you know, it's just a lot of times they don't even have sex, they don't even whatever, because they're just like, finally we have some like alone time to talk or do whatever. And so I feel like, yeah, they've just been calling it overnight dates to kind of like take away the whole idea of like, ooh, fantasy, like sexual whatever, and make it more about like the time together and like being like, okay, we are spending this time together. We're like kind of playing house in this way of like seeing what that looks like. And I think especially with how Zach's season went, where he came out of the gate being telling Jesse like, I'm not gonna hook up with any of these girls, like whatever, hard and fast, no. And like just being like, you sure, dog? And this time I could tell like they sort of danced around how like they wanted to create that foil to Zach's season with Charity, because she was all like, I'm just prioritizing whatever's going to be right for our relationship, like using that time I want to be able to like, you know, see what we need to do, like very much so like I'm going to use that time how I see fit. And I'm not going to tell you exactly what that looks like, because I don't know what that looks like until I get there.
And also, you know, we might be getting a little ahead of ourselves, but, you know, it's kind of, I don't know, maybe they're doing that with, do you think they're just doing that with the Bachelorette season? Do you think they'll do the same thing with the Bachelor season? Like, are they trying to make sure that Charity doesn't come off like in a certain light?
Like a big old slut.
I didn't say it. You said it.
No, but like I feel like there is definitely more slut shaming aspects when it's a Bachelorette season versus when it is a Bachelor season. I think, especially just like I'm thinking about how Jesse responded to Zach when it was Zach's season, being all like, "You sure you can do that?" Like, he wasn't gonna he was never gonna say that to a Bachelorette. He was never gonna be all like, "You sure you're not gonna want to just like, you know, get in there?" But like,
you sure, Charity? You don't want to You want to get on some of these guys? You know,
yeah,
that'd
you don't want to
weird.
climb Dotting like a tree.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I feel that. So why don't we just get into it? We'll talk about it more. Where do we start?
Right. So we're in Fiji. You know, they show us a little mappy. They get us all there. Seemingly, I think they gave all of these dudes tropical shirts, because how is it that they all have like nice, big old bright pattern tropical shirts to be shooting all of these dates, and also like all of their like wistful stares into the distance? Like, I'm just like, there's no way. Like, they had to have given them these or something. Like, I just...
Yeah, because they don't know where they're necessarily going and stuff, so I'm sure there's got to be stuff worked out. And they want to make it look like, you know, not only if you go to Fiji, you can't be wearing, like, a sweater vest or something that you brought.
Yeah, or just, like, a plain tee.
That's like me.
You
That's
gotta
me.
have, like, a little bit of flair.
You know, this is television, baby. So, yeah, we're in Fiji. You know, they seem pretty excited to be there. So yeah, we're starting off our 3 dates with our last 3 men, and we start off with Xavier, right?
Yes, we do. And just even like going into this, even when Charity talked to Jesse at the beginning of the episode, kind of doing the little Jesse check-in, talking about how she's still in love with all these dudes, or like falling in love with all these dudes, and blah blah blah. Even like going into this date with Xavier, and even with her talk with Jesse, she kind of is still going into it with the mode of being like, you know, I'm looking for Xavier to prove me wrong. Like, there's some of my insecurities might be getting in the way, but there's something like, you know, that's giving me a little bit of pause. Like, I feel like we've gotten so far, but like, she's like really waiting for the other shoe to drop a little bit with him.
Well, also it's like, realistically, she's like, I just don't know this guy. You know?
Yeah.
We don't really know this guy. I mean, it does feel off. Like, like, it feels off with everyone except for Dotun, because like they said in this episode, he's like, there's nothing wrong with him. You know what I'm saying? So, other people, it's like you can kind of see like, I wouldn't call them red flags, but I would be like, you know, they're yellow flags getting dropped and stuff, you know, just because of how, you know, it's just you just don't feel comfortable enough for these people yet. But yeah, so they have their date. They meet up on the beach, and they got some kind of ritual going on.
They're on a private island. They have like some of the Fiji like natives or those kinds of folks who come out and do this whole like rituals that would usually happen for like pre-wedding ceremony. So they're going about like, you know, get them into some like traditional garb. They carry Charity out on like a whole giant like, you know, chariot of sorts, I guess. And they're like just doing all these different things that are supposed to like help bring them closer, and it's making marriage and engagement very real, like, in which is definitely something Xavier has struggled with the whole time, is being all like, can I get to that point? And it's definitely making it more real for him, and he's knowing that throughout that whole date experience, which was awesome and definitely like a cool cultural experience, he's all like, shit, like he's definitely having like a realization. He's like, oh, I have to really do this. And also he's like, well, now I have to tell her something, which this kind of came out of nowhere to me. Like, I didn't know that this was what was
well, it makes
happen.
sense, but like what's messed up about it is that like this should have, like, at dinner he tells her that his last relationship he was unfaithful, and it was over like a vacation or something like that, over 5 days.
He said multiple times over a 5-day period, and like Charity's face was like, oh
yeah, TMI, buddy. Like, I mean, I don't know if you have to say all that, like, you know.
I was like, whoa.
But I mean, they went there, and you know, I don't know. I feel like, you know, this is something that he should have said probably earlier on, but this is something that would have gotten him eliminated. So that's what makes it kind of like like a dark cloud over this. I feel like, you know, you don't do this like at this point, you know, this is the point where you're supposed to say I love you. And so he was kind of like trying to do that at the same time too, like trying to be like, no, like if you are serious about me, I'm gonna be serious about you. I'm like, dude, you know, I kind of
but he kept putting the onus back on her. He's all like, you know,
I know this makes you feel uncomfortable, like this is a triggering subject and stuff, and she's like, I'm fine, like, you know, but she's like, I just want to know, are we gonna be good? Like, and he just couldn't, like,
he couldn't say yes. He couldn't say that without a doubt he wouldn't do it again. And she's all like, I don't think that this is that hard to answer. Like, why can't you?
Because, you know, in real life, I mean, from personal experience, I think that's a thing that guys, you know, that are trying to grow up, that have been through like kind of like messes that they've made and had to, like, you know, come through all that, and they're kind of on the other side of it, but are scared of, like, you know, past habits and stuff of like in relationships. So you have this fear of like, you actually do like someone, you see someone, and, you know, the way he described her as like a flower and everything, I truly believe like this is the way he was feeling. And you just don't want to like do that to somebody like that. So you have this fear of like, I'm going to hurt you. And I think in real life, you have the time to kind of get through that. But on a show like this, it's just not like, it's not the formula. So, you know, essentially he's just kind of, you know, digging his own grave with all of this. Like, she kind of even gave him like a rope out of that grave, and he still just kept like, he's like, no, I'm going to keep digging this.
No, she really did. And like, I know she definitely, because like when they keep going, like her little like interview portions, like she's all like, she's getting like more, she's just getting mad. And because she even is like telling him, like, she's like, I'm not upset with you. Like, I just, you know, like, I just need the reassurance. I just need like this, like, like,
what did she say? She has like high standards, or like she's got like, not high stand. It was something else the way she worded it, but she was just like, I'm sorry, but this is kind of like my threshold for this. Like, I can't, like, the one thing I'm not going to deal with is like cheating and stuff. So,
because like she obviously was, because she was more looking for him to be all like, you know, this is what I've done. Because she even asked, like, what work have you done to like better yourself or make sure that, you know, you're processing this or you're going through, or like what, you know, really analyzing why you did that. And he like sort of got into that a bit, but then he couldn't like kind of finish the thought. He would be all like, well, you know, I'm just more introspective. And she's like, cool. But like, does that mean when you're being introspective, like, does that mean you don't doubt that you'll do this? Like,
yeah,
you know, because she's like, I don't doubt you, but if you doubt you, then why wouldn't I doubt you? Then,
yeah.
Like, you know, like.
Yeah, totally. I mean, he also, like, as a viewer, it was very confusing. Like, what was his head, like, where was his head at? Like, did he want to stay or was he trying to go? Like, it was like, at some point I was just like, get him out of here. Like, just like she did. And she ends up sending him home and stuff. So I'm just like, I think that should have been done a while ago. I think it should have been done with hometowns, to be honest. Like, that was kind of like where, you know, because we get like a cliffhanger ending here at this episode that, you know, would have just been better off dealing with this episode. But I mean, as a viewer, I kind of felt this way about Xavier. Like, he was cool, smooth enough, like on dates and everything, but he wasn't the one. And I kind of felt like he wasn't all in.
I think she knew that all along. I think she really wanted to like prove to herself that she could date somebody that was like her ex and like not get burned. And I think she did prove to herself that she didn't get burned in the way that she had in the past, because she made the decision to end it.
Yeah. And like, I truly feel like she just dodged a bullet, you know? So, so where do we go to next?
Now we have Joey's date. Seemingly, she seems to get over the stuff with Xavier real quick. She's all like, on to the next.
Does she though? I don't know. I kind of felt like she was a little off with Joey in the beginning.
In the beginning, which I would understand more. I feel like usually they would try to milk that at first. And I feel like I was like sort of like the anticipation when it took a while for her to roll up in the ATV. Yeah. I was like, are they going to like leave Joey's poor ass like standing out here until like they're like, actually she needs to delay the date or something? Like, I was like, what's going to happen? But,
yeah, I don't know. It felt like it got off to an odd start, which ended up kind of turning into a good thing because they got to be like more, you know, intimate on like a walking through water and stuff, and just kind of, you know, when you're on that like date, like maybe adrenaline's like flowing because you're on this like cart and stuff, but you know, at least I think you want more sweet moments like this. I think it helped Joey in the long run to get this kind of time with Charity before the evening portion of the night. Nothing too crazy happens. Do they?
No, I mean,
besides
the
talk about
portion is.
Yeah, I was sorry. I was gonna ask, like, when they have the conversation about the hometown date. Is that at the dinner?
That was before dinner. Okay. I think it was when they're like hanging out. Part of their walk, part of their like by the waterfall is like when they first initially kind of talk about, you know, what happened there and how she went away upset and like all of that. And they definitely, I felt like that conversation went well where they got on the same page, and Joey explains like how, yeah, like I was like a little bit uncomfortable because I was trying to like, you know, I was trying to be the best I could be like for you in this experience, as well as like, it's weird to be all like, he's on television, technically like doing something that is his profession, and trying to impress this girl, and then like, you know, and then his uncle pops out of nowhere, and then like that's just added pressure. It's just like, you know, these elements that are usually not there.
Yeah, I agree. Like, it wasn't until you kind of broke that down that makes sense. You know, on top of the first part of it, what you were saying, like, this is like, you don't want to come off bad looking, like doing what you do. On top of that, you're trying to like still impress Charity. And then on top of that, now you got your dumbass Uncle Joey trying to be like, something's weird about you, bro. It's like, yeah, dude, I'm on camera. I've been talking like this for like weeks now and killing it. And then you want to come in here and try to like act like we're, you know, in the backyard or something like that. It's like, dude, like, I am on TV right now. I'm a professional.
Literally.
So, I appreciate you explaining that, because I wasn't really feeling Joey, you know, right now, even in this last episode. Even though Charity admits to him first that she loves him, which is why are they doing this? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if they're not going to be like tapping into, like, no pun intended, but to the sex aspect of this, like, I feel like the love aspect of this is kind of like the same messy part of it, you know, like, how you gonna go see? I think what happens with the fantasy suites is that you have, like, they go in having sex, and then the next day they go on a brand new date. It's supposed to be like that didn't just happen. Then they go and possibly have sex again, like, the next day. So it's like, even with the word love, like, you go in saying I love you to one person, and then, you know, she ends up going and saying I love you to Dotun when we get there. But, you know, it's like, why are you doing that? Like, you know what I'm saying? I think that's just as bad as being like I don't know, like saying like we had sex last night or something like that. I don't know.
I feel like they've started to normalize the fact that you could be like, on this show, they've normalized the fact that, like, you can fall in love with multiple people over this process.
Yes, but that's the messy that they want.
Because, yes, they're like, but that's what we're going to tap into. I mean, think about even from the beginning of the season when they were promoting, like, what was going to happen for the rest of the season. They showed her being all like, you don't say goodbye to somebody you love. And they showed her being all like, I never thought I'd be in love with, like, whatever. That's, like, I think they've done that for probably the past couple of seasons, where back in the day, I feel like that was like the scandal. It was the scandal to be like, when Ben Higgins said that he was in love with two people, that was the scandal. I mean,
yeah, maybe I'm old school in that sense, where it's like, I remember when that happened, I'm like, how? Like, that just, oh, man, yes, you're right. They are leaning into the fact that this process leads you to love more people, because originally it's like you I think they were going on the pretense of you can only love one person. Right. So, I do remember when Ben did that, and I was like, that was almost like, to equivalent of like inflation today. It was almost, it felt like Colton, you know what I'm saying? Like what he did on that same level of saying I love you to multiple women, and then fast forward, like, you know, what, like almost a decade, and we got Colton, and I don't know if it's been that long, but we got Colton, and he's like sleeping with multiple women. It kind of felt like the same thing back then.
You mean Clayton, not Colton. Colton was the one who jumped over a fence.
Yeah, I mean Clayton. Gosh. Might be. Clayton, yes. You know, that's the equivalent, I feel like. It's like now saying I love you. So now I love you is like nothing on the show.
Right. Well, I think it's interesting, because I think this whole process really fosters these ideas of feeling like you're either the feeling of falling in love, the feeling of being in love. Sure, maybe they are truly, truly in love. I have a hard time believing that. But I think it just fosters those actual, like, those intense feelings of falling and being in love, whether those are actual or not. I mean, are the track record of how some of these couples last seem to make it seem like that isn't true. But I think it definitely, they're like, that is like the main drama juice that they're squeezing out for how, you know, to keep us engaged, to being like,
yeah,
wow,
this becomes a pattern in future episodes, like where like they end up saying I love you to two people. They're only doing that so like it feels more dramatic on that last episode when they pick one person. So I don't really like it. I'm gonna that's on like the honorable mentions of like 10 reasons why I hate the show. Side note, one of the definite reasons is the fact they've had two leads one named Colton and one named Clayton. That just instantly just irked me.
Yeah, both white dudes that played football.
Yeah, with these dumbass names. Anyways, no offense to any of our fans out there named Clayton or Colton. That'd be weird. Like, who has those names? Anyways, I guess you would have to be a lead of a TV show with that name because it's just like no real normal person has that.
Right.
Anyways, so yeah, Joey, again, I noticed he has some incredible eye contact though. When he's telling Charity that he's definitely in love with her, I'm like, damn, like he's looking at her and I feel like he's looking at me. Like, you know, that's how strong his eye contact is.
He's always good about, he can like truly like read her emotions just by looking at her. He's like really good at connecting with her that way. Like even so they do the fantasy suite, and even like after that, like the way he's like looking at her like in the morning or like whatever, like he's definitely like, he is very much so like zoned in on Charity.
Am I the only one that like I can't help but like think about morning breath every time they cut to the next day and they're in each other's faces, like whispering sweet nothings?
Well, you know, when they're filming that part, I mean, Charity's already got makeup on her face. Like, I think they let her like go and do whatever, that hasn't always been the case. Like, there's definitely been seasons past where like it's actual real and raw and they're not like all made up. But in this one, like she was definitely made up, ready to rock and roll. Like they, you know, she was like,
I'm not getting on that camera just for fresh face morning. Like, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just always think about them. Like, why are they talking so close? But it's like, that just takes me out of the moment. Cause I'm like, both these guys have probably taken a shower, brushed their teeth and got back into bed. And they're just like, last night was wonderful. Anyway, so they leave, they're in love. Now it's like, it just makes me like feel bad for Dotun because like, you know, it's just like, what is going on? But they end up having a great date. Nothing bad happens with Dotun. Like she loves
she is giddy and smiling. They're giggling. They're like going on their little jet skis. They're looking real cute. Like
I'm a straight man and I want Dotun in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like
I'm like Dotun just like I think he just brings like such good energy and like they can't help but be happy together. Like she's like, literally, I'm looking for something wrong and it's not there. Like there's nothing wrong.
Yeah,
and, like,
they're making up things to like make him look bad. Like even what's it called? Jesse's like, there's nothing wrong with him. We've done a deep dive. We've done background checks. We've asked.
Yeah, we've been trying.
There's not even one person that hates him in his life. Like he just has liked people like his whole life. So yeah, I mean, they're just trying to make that be like the drama with Dotun because it's just too easy. It's just like, like even the producers are like, how are we even gonna spin this? Like Joey's a good decent man, but he's making like Dotun's making him look like a villain at this point because he's just he's perfect. He's just so good, and I think it's like so pure how he's talking about how he didn't know like anything about the show, which I read the other day about how technically like he didn't even try out or, you know, get nominated for the show. I guess it was like his roommate's friend that had a dropout or something last minute. And then they asked like if, you know, they had anybody who they do that. Like a lot of times with these, like when they casting calls for these shows, they'll be like, because they're trying to see everybody. So it's like, you know, the people that want to be on TV are one thing, but then they ask you to bring a friend or two with you and stuff. And they end up coming. He got brought in
like literally the last in 2 weeks. They like literally just like threw him in there, like because whoever had to drop out last minute, and they were like, "You got somebody that we could maybe just do a quick replacement," and they're like, "Sure."
Yeah, and the nicest guy I've ever met is my roommate, so I'll bring him. So you know, I think you know, he's like, I've never seen the show, so I wasn't really aware that people get engaged at the end of this thing, and so I was thinking about it. I was like, yeah, I guess I could do that, and I was just like, dude, that's so. And she's like, I actually love that. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's so genuine.
So pure because like he's like, he's like, I don't think, and even like during the date, he's like, I don't think, you know, this would be a fairy tale with anybody else. It's only a fairy tale because it's with you.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, I'm sitting on my couch and I'm like, obviously in a relationship. I'm like, damn, this is amazing. Like, I was like, I don't even.
Oh my gosh. If it wasn't like midnight when I was watching this show, I might have gotten in my feels. But and they put him at the end too, so I'm just like, wrap it up. But yeah, I mean, it's just great. You know, he's just great to watch, and it would just be a shame. Like, honestly, it's like kind of putting Charity in this awkward position. If she doesn't pick him, then she's just truly evil. Like, you know,
like it just, they look so good together. They just like, I don't see, like, she doesn't stop smiling when she's with him. Like, how could you say no to this man? She's never doubted him once.
Yeah, he's all like, you know, I'm gonna get in an accident just looking at you know, on this jet ski, just looking at Charity, but I'd crash to like for that sight. And I was like, dude, that's beautifully said. Talking about a tragedy, but you know, I and then they get to the end, nothing really crazy comes out. She does say that she loves him too, but what is this jealousy thing that you noticed?
So I'm saying this is like the only slight thing that I could tell that they're trying to like twist a little bit is that he brings up because he honestly is very chill about it, because he's like, I know this part is hard, blah, 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 as like they're leaving. And she's like, yeah, like, you know, this would never happen otherwise, because like the whole idea is like, you know, he doesn't know where he is in the order. I'm so happy that they don't do it the way that they did like a year or so ago, where they would have them all come back to the same like room, being all like, anyways, with like the hair messy and like stuff like that. But
yeah, I bet you they stopped doing that because it really did mess up like people's heads.
It's fucked up that they even did that for the short amount of time that they did it. But I think he's just, I brought this up. I don't even think this is real jealousy, but I think they were trying to milk this, where they are bringing, because he's all like, you know, as someone who's not really ever been in tune with this show, I think this is where this is the slightest weakness of his, is that he's like, I just want to start our life together. Like, I don't want to be sitting here waiting for her to potentially have great dates with Joey and Xavier, him not knowing that Xavier's gone. But also nobody knowing that Aaron is, you know, either en route or already there at this point.
Yeah, so Aaron comes back, and they do like this whole bit where he goes and asks for her room number, and they're like, sorry, sir.
With a camera following him around. Like, honestly, it's just rude. It's like, he's all like, they're all like, do you know the room? And he's like, I guess I'll just have to find her. Like, production's literally got a camera on his ass, walking him around aimlessly around this Fiji resort. Like, they don't know where this bitch is.
Yeah,
like,
they did him dirty. And, you know, it's funny because, on the ride home, I was on Instagram because I wasn't driving this time. But I was on Instagram, and, like, sometimes if I don't watch the show, like my feed gets flooded with, like, Bachelorette content, like, the night after it's aired. So I saw this one meme where it was, like, Charity next to Blake Moynes. And I was like, no, that's how much Blake is like. I was like, there's no way. Like, you know, I actually thought that was what happened. I'm like,
I saw like one of the accounts that we follow had posted like a poll on the story being like, who do you think is the one that's going to show up?
Yeah.
And somebody had put Blake Moynes, and I was like, I swear. And I was like, I knew it wasn't going to be Blake Moynes, but I was like, I swear to God, that would be wild. Like,
yeah, it would be. I mean, that would be terrible. But anyways, Erin comes back, and, you know, she's kind of flustered from it. She's like, doesn't deny that she hasn't been thinking about that decision and stuff, especially probably after the Xavier thing. But you know, so we get kind of left with like, what is she gonna do, right? And my thoughts on it is just kind of like, there's just no way of bringing Aaron back at this moment. The only way you could bring Aaron back is if you were going to pick him over somebody else there. And I just don't see it happening. Yeah. No. And it would just be kind of ridiculous to be like, yeah, you can stay around for like this rose ceremony because we were supposed to have 3 people. You know, I don't know if they did this last second, maybe because Xavier left and they're like, ooh, let's just fly Aaron out there and see if, like, you know, because we just need one more date. Like, otherwise we're giving them 2 weeks to just have like these final dates, you know?
Right.
So I'm hoping she doesn't let him stay, because it just feels like they're just dragging out something that's like they've been rushing this whole time, like, you know?
I mean, and she even said at Hometowns last week that she wasn't sure that she could, get engaged to Aaron if he had asked her that day. So, like, my thing is, like, then that says enough. Like, I don't think,
You're not going to pick Aaron over Dotun. You're not going to pick... She already said, I love you to two of these guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't love Aaron...
how do you come back from that?
Yeah, exactly. So, that's kind of where we're left with. I mean, I really don't know how this is going down for, the ending, but... Because
they show Aaron in a suit, but I'm like, does that mean he's actually going to go to the rose ceremony? Or are they going to give him a date? Like, what does that even look like at this point? Or is they just going to put him in a suit and then she's going to be like... bye, bitch. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they're like, I'll have to see, and then he gets their rose ceremony. She'll probably pull him aside before she, so that's kind of like letting someone go, and then two people are still standing there and being like, Xavier, I had to like send Xavier home. Aaron B came back, and I sent him home too, so it's just you two. That's the way probably it's gonna go down, but who knows? But what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. Are you happy Aaron's back? I'm not that thrilled about it. Who do you want to win? Joey? Are you team Joey? Are you team Dotun? Like, I think it's pretty obvious here. But, what do you think is going to be the ending here? What do you think about them switching up the term fantasy suites for overnights and all that? Anything else going on in Bachelor Nation we have to talk about? That's a loaded question, by the way.
Yeah, that is a loaded question. So the news that we sort of were sniffing around last week has been officially announced, and it is that Kaitlyn Bristowe and Jason Tartick have ended their engagement. They both posted a whole long thing this past, like yesterday or 2 days ago, talking about how, they took some time to process it themselves. They have decided to end their engagement. Like, we're taking the time to process. We're going to co-parent our dogs.
That's the worst part of it all. We're going to co-parent our dogs. Leave the dogs out of this, dog. Like,
I'm like, nobody gives a shit.
No one gives a shit because, like, that's only going to be until, like, you don't do that forever,
No.
You don't do that. Like, people always say we're co-parenting dogs. Eventually, like a year or two down the line, one person gets one dog, one person gets the other dog, or both the dogs go to the same home. It's like,
right.
This is lame. We don't care about your dogs. I mean, to me, it just seems like they were kind of, it's kind of like, it's weird. Like, you could kind of see the cracks. People are like going back and looking at interviews they've done together and stuff, and it just looks like they kind of fell out of love. Like, maybe it's their lives. They're both very focused on their own careers, and it just didn't last. It's very sad.
It's sad because they both seem to, like, they both posted stuff to their stories that seemed like really heartfelt and sad. Like, Jason did like the series of photos of them like together and being all like, I'm so happy I met this beautiful person, like, and we had like the best life together, blah blah blah. We made the hard decision, blah blah blah, like only love, whatever. And then like Kaitlyn's all like kind of did something similar, being all like, if you guys could pray for us or whatever, we're really struggling. And then it's pretty much is going dark from social media for a while. But I'm just, I kind of want to know if it really was, I'm guessing there was maybe some sort of deal breaker. Maybe it's like,
what kind of sucks about it for Kaitlyn is the fact that, like, we wouldn't be talking about Jason today if it wasn't for Kaitlyn. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, he would have just been another contestant that faded off into the background and is doing like his own little social media stuff. But like, Kaitlyn really put him on the forefront. He was able to build a foundation for his own stuff. Like, and
Right.
I think he's going to have like a great career post Kaitlyn. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
It looks like this kind of seems to be like a trend when it comes to her like relationships, that like, the people are kind of using her. I'm not saying this is what he intentionally did, but how is she supposed to go into her next relationship not thinking that like someone's just gonna like build up their business and then end up leaving her? It sucks.
Right.
So
Right.
I mean, you can't really we can't really sit here and say that we know too much about these relationships. We only know what we get into public, but it is very sad, seeing a Bachelor Nation couple break up, and one that, people were really rooting for, I think.
Right. I really liked them together. I thought they were a great couple, and it does make me sad because it feels like they're both really hurting, and to have to be like, they're both such public figures at this point, like, I think about how hard that must be, just to be like, there's probably a lot of complicating, confusing feelings happening that, like, I mean, just like even as like you and me as like non like big public figures or anything like that, just like the idea of like going through the complicated feelings of like having to break up with somebody because of like, specific, like maybe there's more to like, you just could see that it wasn't going to go the way that you guys wanted it to go, or like your lifestyles were ultimately not suited for each other. But
yeah, and it's just also like equally kind of sucks that, they have all these times of like recorded of them talking conversations about relationships and all this different stuff, and just for it to just fizzle out, it's almost like all that shit is bullshit,
Right.
So yeah, I hope they, are going to be okay. I'm sure they will, but it's definitely dark times right now. What else is going on?
In happier news, our girl Gabby Windy went on The View and came out to say that she is dating a woman. Yay! A win for gay Bachelor Nation fans!
All right, we're going to do the cheer for you. Yeah.
I love Gabby, and she's dating Robbie Hoffman, who is a comedic writer and comedian and stuff like that. And definitely, like, Gabby hasn't really like said anything about what she's defining her sexuality as, which I don't really think you have to. I think you could just be like, she said what she wanted to say on The View. She talked about how, she heard a whisper of like being attracted to women and things like that, and they just kind of grew, and then she found Robbie, and I mean, Robbie is definitely like a more masculine woman too, and I just think it makes me think about the whole Chriselle from Selling Sunset being with G-Flip, where I feel like you could be attracted to, like, this is why to me like sexuality is such a spectrum, like you could be attracted to different energies and different like people and different things like that, and it not like sometimes not always being so like totally defined by
what you like,
gender.
I get that. I'm very happy for her. It's kind of strange though, like to see this kind of spawn off of like Bachelor Nation, because I hate giving Bachelor Nation the credit of having like this type of relationship in their franchise, because they don't really deserve the credit of that. They don't highlight this type of love on their franchises. They have tried in the past, like, but then they quickly go away. And even the fact that like it's another example of like them going through a whole season of like pushing a certain agenda for someone, and then them coming out like with now Colton. Obviously it's like, as it's almost like, what are we watching here? Like, are we looking for people looking for true love? Like, they're not doing enough backgrounds on their leads to like know like what they actually, maybe, I don't know, maybe she didn't know.
Well, and plus, like, a few weeks back, we talked about how Kaitlyn Bristow actually talked about how, when she was going through the psych evaluations for her season of being a lead, and talked about being bisexual / attracted to women, like her psychiatrist was pretty much like, don't bring that up with production because they'll weaponize it. And you would think these days that wouldn't happen. I mean, that was like back in 2012 when it was her season, but I mean, which is still crazy that was even going to be a thing that's weaponized. But like, you would think nowadays that we could have a more like fluid season. You would think we would be able to have like a more like I don't know, like that we'd be able to tap into that. And like even Gabby
I would love
said,
that. Like in the beginning, let the lead be like, no, I'm not feeling this person. And then, they eliminate. But like what I mean, if Gabby's partner right now was on the show, like, it would have been interesting to see, guys and like, women like going against each other for love, I mean,
right.
That would be a hell of a season, and not even framed in the way like this is some different spin-off of The Bachelor. Like, why can't it just be The Bachelor, Bachelorette,
right.
as is,
right.
So, yeah, I'm happy for her. Good for her. She looks happy and in love.
Yep.
So, yeah, what else is going on?
Well, this is just what seems to be maybe a little bit of soft launch teasing on the internet a little bit, is that Justin Glaze and Micah from Love is Blind, I think what was that, the Dallas season? I don't remember.
That's the latest season.
Or Seattle? I don't remember.
Yeah.
Whatever the most recent one was, Seattle. And they like seem to be hanging out together, which could be interesting because, Justin's cousin was on that season.
Yeah, that I didn't even think about that.
So
Justin's out here just
clout. Could be like an actual like them hanging out. Who knows?
Yeah, Justin's just out here making his rounds. You know what I'm saying? And they definitely have that connection there. So I did good on you for remembering that. I was like, forgot about that. What else? Anything else for Bachelor Nation?
So Nick Viall talked about recently on his podcast how when he was just filming the Special Forces with, the star-studded cast that we talked about last week, Tom Sandoval, I guess, snuck on pictures of him and Raquel or Rachel, and was kind of, showing them around to people, which I guess technically you weren't supposed to like bring any personal affects. So the whole point is that you're like kind of like doing like some super tough like military based training. And I guess Nick was all like, yeah, I guess I could have tried to bring a photo of my fiance Natalie, but I just followed the rules, but whatever. So it sounds like Nick's bitter that he didn't think to bring a hot pic of his young hot fiance, but
Yeah. But it is weird that he'd bring a picture of Raquel. Like, are they still together?
I don't know. That's what they were trying to figure out, I guess, if that's actually going to last or what that looks like, because she's,
seems so calculated. It actually just seems like something like to try to like make it seem like it's a good like that. It's like all Gucci. That's sort of what it felt like to me. If he was like really, I mean, we're taking Nick Viall's word here, so taking it with a large grain of salt. Mm-hmm. But like, if he really was like kind of flashing the photo around, to me, it feels like, yeah, he's building a campaign up to be all like, see, like this is something, right, like or whatever. Yeah, guys. Well, that kind of wraps up Bachelor Nation stuff this week. What are your guys' thoughts on this week's episode of The Bachelorette? What do you think about the Jason Tartick and Kaitlyn Bristowe breakup? What are your feelings on Gabby's new love with a woman? What about this Bachelor in Paradise and Love is Blind mashup we got going on? Nick Viall, Tom Sandoval, which one's worse? Let us know in the comments below.
Just some 40-year-old men with 20-year-old girlfriends or fiancés.
Man, I can't even hate on that. Let's go. All right. Well, yeah, just let us know what you think in the comments, and we'll be back with next week's episode of The Bachelorette.
Future Bachelor